I want to share this just to get this out of my head. My wife, she's going through a issue with court. These two elderly women that she was working for, that are friends of hers, she was shopping for during this last year because they were afraid to leave their homes with the whole pandemic going on. And so when she would go shopping for our household and our household needs, she also would shop for them using their cards. Now, I want to start by saying at first I didn't like these, especially the this one woman. I didn't like her. She has that personality where you're good enough for her as long as she can benefit, from you. But the moment you can't provide her with anything, or you're not a benefit to her, then all of a sudden she has nothing to say to you. She don't need you anymore. Well, this woman, she and her daughter are pain pill addicts, and other stuff, but mostly pain pills. And it's weird because she's an RN nurse, and so you can speculate, which I guess is reckless, but um, as an RN, uh, why are you addicted to pain medicines and you're still working as an RN, right? Her daughter moves drugs from Erie to Olean and at night. So these are signs I just didn't like. I didn't like my wife hanging out with them, her checking on her or anything. I just like better enough leave her alone. So towards the end of my wife dealing with this woman, her daughter, who was this drug mule, ends up taking her mom's bank card and starts depleting her bank account of well over $5,000 up to $7,000. And this woman threatens her daughter, hey, I'm going to, turn you in, yada yada yada. So that was the last we'd heard of them. All of a sudden they pop up, and the police are investigating my wife for using her card without this woman's knowledge. She's saying without her permission, and claiming that she used her card to withdraw $5,000 from her bank account, and she was using it for her own personal needs, and not. And it's like, okay, so now my wife, she's trying to prove that this isn't what happened, yada yada yada. She got herself a lawyer, because I just don't want to get into that. But she got herself a lawyer, and she's been going to court over this stuff, and they finally came down 96 charges. What they slapped her with after she had her first court appearance, they reduced the 96 charges down to two, stating that she didn't prove that she wasn't guilty of these things. So I'm reading the codes myself that they slapped her with, right? And the first thing it says is that um, this person has shown intent to harm or injure said person, and yada yada yada. So my mind got stuck on intent, right? Because you hear off and on when with the cop killings of our people that they say, oh, well, this cop was able to clear himself because they couldn't prove intent. Like the whole George Floyd. Remember that was the last one they just argued, right? Oh, there was no evidence that he intended to murder George Floyd, right? Where was the text messages? Where was the conversation with significant others or anyone that could be a witness that he intended to kill George Floyd? So I started looking it up, and there it is. Intent. They put it in their codes, the way to get out of it, if you know how to argue it, right? If the attorney really cares to argue it or not. Intent is hard to prove because it's a mental mindset state. So I thought it was weird. How could you prove her intent was not to harm or injure through these 94 charges, but two of them you are saying that yeah, you found the evidence she intended to harm or injure? No, they're trying to make something stick. That's all it is. So I've been dealing with that. I've been trying to get her to listen to me. My wife, that she needs to argue this case, not her lawyer, um, because her lawyer was, I just feel like her lawyer's just trying to get her to fall. I mean, how can you clear of all these other ones but not that? So that's the first thing I wanted to share, and I want you to think about the intent is a mindset. So always keep that in mind when you're dealing with this and you read these codes yourself.
stretch this to just a couple of more minutes because I just want to talk a little bit about, and William, you're gonna have about 3 or 4 minutes to do this, so best of luck. Aztlan was the ancestral home of the Aztecs, a great mountain in the middle of the water, perhaps where, William?
Well, according to ideas that have been proposed lately, we may be talking about Aztlan as existing in the southwestern states of California, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, portions of Nevada, Utah, and Colorado.
So what happens then if it reappears?
It appears to be the fulfillment of the prophecy of the return of Aztlan, Atlan, or Atlantis, and the return of the empire of Atlantis itself.
And is it that the land literally breaks up and this reappears, or is it that the people living in this area, or some of the people, reconnect with this past, and a kind of bolt of energy crosses the vast gulf of time involved? And
did you hear how he described that? Listen close, right? I'm going to play it again. Listen to that, right?
Suddenly, with land literally
or Atlantis, and the return of the empire of Atlantis itself.
And is it that the land literally breaks up and this reappears, or is it that the people living in this area, or some of the people, reconnect with this past, and a kind of bolt of energy crosses the vast gulf of time involved, and suddenly the people of Aztlan have recovered themselves and are reestablishing their own empire again? Is that possible too?
That's what's happening, and I was first tipped off to this. I was watching Hannity and Combs of all shows, and not Sean Hannity, Alan Combs all of a sudden says that what animates or drives the whole Mexican immigration wave is the dream of Aztlan and the recreation of the nation of Aztlan. And of course, Alan Combs had no clue what that was, but I readily recognized what that is. And as I start to look into it further, there is this prophetic aspect of it. You find a very dark and dangerous aspect of it because they talk about the recreation of the nation of Aztlan as occurring through democratic form. In other words, masses of people moving into this area and beginning to establish themselves as a voting bloc. There are others that say that the only way the nation of Aztlan can return is through armed conflict with the aggressor nation, which in this case is the United States. Either way, this recreation of the nation of Aztlan is the fulfillment of a prophecy. In fact, one of the persons who's commented on this in an interesting way, he did so in 1977, is Dr. J.J. Hurtak in his book, The Keys of Enoch. In that book, he shows a map of 12 sacred sites that ring the planet, that include the Giza Plateau. It also includes other areas, and Dr. Hurtak says that at the time of this transition, which we're undergoing right now, there will be two areas of light that will be reformed. One in the southwestern quadrant of the U.S., precisely corresponding with where the nation of Aztlan is seeking to reformulate itself, and a second location in the southeastern quadrant of the United States, centered in Nashville, Tennessee. So, according to that,
where you are trying to reform yourself,
where I am,
yeah,
where I am noting the astonishing recreation of ancient temple sites for some seemingly unapparent reason, but I think it corresponds with this thought that Hurtak has put forward, channeled through the prophet Enoch, that at this time there will be these two new centers that will be reformed, and here we are watching this unfold right before our very eyes. And I'm not saying that I agree or disagree with this Nation of Aztlan movement of the recreation of Aztlan, Atlan, or Atlantis in California, Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado, but I am observing that this is what is motivating this whole immigration issue. This is what's behind it, and it is, I believe, indeed prophetic.
Our birth is but a sleep,
The knowledge of the book. Oops, I don't want that. Nope. There we go. The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch by J.J. Herstock. The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch is a textbook that states the issues of the future and a spiritual a new direction in mankind's evolution into the higher state of consciousness. Okay, that's great.